Oski, would you bless us, please?
Dear gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for this opportunity to gather here and work with the Cherokee people. Father, we ask for your guidance and just give us your protection and mercy, for it's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Shelley, would you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Keith Austin.
Here.
Wes Snowfire. Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Sean Crittenden. Joe Deere.
Honey.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Kanan Duncan. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Daryl Legg.
Here.
Dora Petskowski.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw. E.O. Smith.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the June 14th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. We have vocational programs with Talking Leaves, Job Corps, and Career Services. Miss Diane Kelly is in the room. It's good to see you, Diane.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna stand up. Let's just stand. Let Racket get figured out, maybe. You have my report, and there's a lot of you have my report, and there's a lot of statistics and a lot of information in there about some of our clients and some of the outstanding things that's going on with the students. I just want to say thank you to Councilwoman Dora, Councilwoman Vasquez, and Councilman Legg and Councilman Duncan. You all appealed to help us get the summer youth program extended, and Jeff wants to say thank you. They are extending the kids who actually are not going back to school, but maybe are going to college or going into a vocational program, or the ones that, you know, don't have a full load. So some of those students will actually come back, and we'll actually work toward keeping them on for 15, 20, 30, 40 hours a week, depending on what their needs are. Some of our students they have families, and some of them don't, because it goes up to 24 years of age. So just want to say thank you. Appreciate the emails that you all sent regarding that, and Chief Hoskin was very pleased to be able to give us that extra money to keep the program going, and we'll extend it up through September 30th, and then when the new fiscal year starts in October, we will actually submit another budget for it to go from October up through September 30th of 2022. So I just wanted to share that with you and say thank you on behalf of the staff and Jeff Vance. We had over 500 youth on the program this year, and George and the interns and some of the staff are out in Cherokee, North Carolina, and they've been posting pictures every day and sharing with us all the great things that they're learning out there with the North Carolina Cherokees. I want to commend George. He sprang his foot before he left. He come wheeling in on a little bitty trike of some sort, and I said, George, couldn't they get you a bigger trike? Because it's pretty low down. He said, well, he said, this is all they had. So he's going to have to wheel around on that for the next week while they're out there on their trip. So when he gets back, he may be a little shorter. But he was excited to go on the trip, and the staff said that the students are really learning a lot about their history. So I just wanted to share that with you. We've got child care training that we've been working on with Carl Albert and also Rogers State, and they're going to use the curriculum that they have at the Poto campus and use that at the Mid-America Rogers campus, so that we'll be able to do child care in Mays County and in Sequoia County at the same time, so that we have people in the pipeline. And Verna had indicated that she wanted to steal some of those people once they went through that cycle for Head Start too. So we'll be rolling people out in that training program for probably the next year, year and a half, so that we have people in the pipeline for those programs. We had a ribbon cutting last week at Pryor for our new Mays County office, and I want to say that we wouldn't have been up there had it not been for Janice Taylor. Her husband Brett actually brought this up at one time, why don't you have an office up there in Mays County? And the Housing Authority was gracious enough to let us go out there and use one of the homes out there that had some blemishes, and we used it for an office for a period of time. And we knew that if we could get in the Mid-America Park, it would open the door for a lot of jobs, and a lot of our tribal members would be able to go to work. And it's been very instrumental for our reentry program. A lot of the businesses there in the park will work with us for our reentry people. So it's been very gratifying to work with those businesses and see the success stories that have come out of our reentry program there in the park. And I just want to say thank you to Councilwoman Taylor, because had it not been for her, we probably wouldn't have had the office that we have today. And I appreciate all the work that she did on that. And Dave Stewart and his team at Mid-America has been very instrumental in keeping us in the loop. When the electric car company, Canoe, announced that they were going there in the park, we were one of the first ones that they called and asked us to be there for the opening of that. And we've been up there a couple of times since, and we're working with Scott Fry, Tanya Backward, and Sherry Alexander, part of Dave's team. And we'll be working with a lot of the businesses up there. When a new business comes into an area that's going to employ thousands of people, all of these businesses that are there in the park that have been there for a number of years that employ 300 to 400 people get a little apprehensive that they're going to steal all of our employees, because Canoe announced that they're going to pay their people $25 an hour. So I don't think they have to worry. I think there's enough people around the area that's going to travel there for $25 an hour. But we have to make sure that we've got the workforce intact. It's not going to be built for probably a couple of years, and we've got to do some training and get some engineers. So we've got a lot of work to do. So we'll be calling on Corey to work with us to try to get some people trained for some of the more technical trades that they're going to need. Plans are underway for Jennifer Kirby and the Human Services Department to be adjacent to us there in the prior office. They are going to move over into what they call the showroom floor of that building, and she'll be able to put all of her programs there, and we'll have one central waiting area, and this will be the one-stop center similar to the one that we have in Stillwell today. So I think in December, we'll probably invite everybody up for maybe a Christmas open house, and you'll get to see both of the offices and how we've got them structured. So we're kind of excited about that. We are working with the PPE program over in Stillwell. Hopefully we'll be opening Hulbert up real soon, and then we'll be working with the meat processing. If you haven't seen our trailers, Hunter had one on display at Mays County. We've got 2 trailers. They're classrooms, and we will be using them out in the outlining areas. And then we've also got another digital display that we're actually going to be bringing in too. So we've got a lot of things going on. It's an exciting time in career services. It's going to be more exciting as we get closer to the school season starting in August, and we're looking forward to some of the new things that we're getting ready to roll out. So with that, I would ask if there are any questions.
Are there any questions? Yes, Speaker Byrd?
Yes, Diane, you always do an outstanding job with summer youth, and my son is out there in North Carolina. They just showed me a photo of him and Larry Shade standing there. Of course, they were eating. I mean, that's what they go to do out there.
Yes.
You know, I had this conversation some time ago with a couple of staffers from the education department. If we looked at how much we spent on summer youth programs and leasing land and leasing facilities like Heart of the Hills, you know, that it would be ideal if we had something like the Heart of the Hills that we own on the north side, south side. And I think we spend something where around $400,000 or $500,000 a year on our summer youth programs. In the last 10 years, if you look at that, it would behoove us not to look into a facility of our own. Something, like the Heart of the Hills where, we could utilize training not just for the summer youth, but our administration as well. So it's just something to look into, council members. I think if we did, we would save an enormous amount of money on it to have our own facility for training for, Cherokee Nation employees and summer youth. So anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there. And make sure when you have that Christmas gathering, you invite that prior there, the lady that made it possible, Counselor Taylor there.
Well, she's good at baking cookies. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, and she can count. That's a good thing.
Yes, she can count.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Are there other questions or comments for Diane?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to echo what he said. I know that the Heritage Center is being remodeled, and the Heritage Center is one of the areas where we actually put a lot of our summer youth kids. There's usually 40 to 50 to 60 students out there. And with some of the things that they're getting ready to do maybe next year, we'll have a lot more kids out there that can help run that during the summer months. So that's one of the areas that we hope we'll have an open door for our summer youth kids to participate in.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rezer?
Yes, Diane, I just want to make a comment. And you did say something about recruiting engineers. I'm glad to hear that because, and everybody else here knows that we do reimbursement back for some doctors or nurses and stuff like that. So I think you're on the right track, and hopefully that all of our school systems would start talking about engineering programs for students. And I think if we had a payback program for engineering students, we might even help recruit a little more of those people. Because you're right, you're exactly right. We're going to have to start promoting engineers, pharmacists, and stuff like that. So I think we're on the right track, and we need to do it fast track because with the car company coming in, they're going to have some high technical jobs up there, and we need to be starting that now. So anyway, I'm glad to hear you to say that. So
Thank you.
if we could look into a payback to the nation for engineer, just like we did the doctors, it's not the same thing, but I'm sure something can be worked out as far as payback goes. So that might entice some young kids to be in the engineering program.
Okay?
Okay, the other thing that's talking about buildings a while ago is I know the career services there in the building at J. I know it's a housing authority building, but we really need to look at building a new building. That building is 50 years old. And we just put a roof on it. I'm not sure the roof's going to hold up very long because it's flat. And so those are the things we need to look at, especially since getting this COVID money for infrastructure. I could see that using for things like that. So just keep it in mind when the administration and the directors have meetings like that because the career services in J is cramped like it is. So anyway, just want to throw that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up. I do know that Attorney General Hill has been looking at some areas up in the Delaware County J area. And one of the things that we have expressed to the Secretary and to Chief of Staff is that if there is a location, we would like to be considered to be adjacent to it because we realize that building is very old and we're having to sink quite a bit of money into it.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Yes, Councilor Taylor.
I just have a comment. Perhaps you could take your analysis of what you've accomplished in the Mid-America Industrial Park and show it to the Industrial Park in J, and they might find a spot for you.
Good point. Thank you.
I know those people up there pretty well. Mike knows them very well.
Anybody else?
I got a comment.
Yes, Councilor Rezer.
The counselor just made a statement. I think Diane knows the difference between the city of Pryor and Mays County and the city of Jay in Delaware County. But I do want to say, Diane, I think you're aware of it, that we just purchased some more land for an industrial park, so that might be a good statement there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Diane, I don't see anybody else who's just dying to have their words heard, so I guess you're free to go.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for your work.
You guys have an enjoyable summer.
Our next report will be Corey Bunch reporting for Executive Director's report, followed by Sequoia High School. Hello, Director Bunch.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everyone today. I believe you have our report. I would just like to mention a couple of other things before we get into any questions. You probably read about it, but we had another successful Remember the Removal bike ride this year that's completed, and now we're doing, we've been doing some exit interviews and just kind of getting some feedback from the riders on making any improvements in the future. We also have Camp Cherokee coming up. That's going to kick off on the 25th of this month. The deadline for application has actually passed, but if you know of any other young students or come across any, please let us know. We'll see if we can get them worked in. Let's see. Also, just like to call your attention to one thing on the report, and that is the number of scholarship applications that we've received. I think the report says 5638. That number should actually be 5645, which is pretty average. The average has held firm for the last 3 years, and so we're busy processing those and looking forward to the fall semester. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions from the report.
Corey, on the scholarships, you say that there's 36 waitlisted. What's the time frame for the wait list, or how will that get resolved?
So actually, this would be again, the students who missed the deadline. If we can do anything at all for them in the past, if there's some sort of extenuating circumstance, that will actually be a while. That's all I can say on that before we even get a chance to look at that. We'll process all the ones that came in complete, and then we'll take a look at some of these other ones.
Okay, so those, you've got slots for so many.
Well, it's really kind of based on the amount that are approved with the ones that came in on time, and then we'll go back and take a look at those. Again, see if there was any extenuating circumstances or any special reason really to look at those late ones.
Well, based on the school year, which is August sometime, will they be able to know by the beginning of school?
Those, if we were to fund any late applications, they would not. It would be past that timeline. So that's usually what takes place. Last year when I came on board, there were just a very small handful of ones that we looked at, and it was quite a bit later actually because we focused primarily on the ones that we received on time.
Those who you received on time, when can they expect funding letters?
It's we're trying to speed that up. We're always kind of slow to pay. I think everybody knows that, but we will make every effort to get those by the time that school kicks off in August.
Yeah, it's not a matter of when they're paid. It's a matter of knowing that you're going
It
to
is,
get
and
it.
sometimes what we do is if a student gets into a bind and a university is giving them hassle, we will issue some sort of letter saying that payment is coming. Please don't charge them any late fees or put anything on hold. We're going to get you the money as quickly as possible.
Okay, I wish we had a way to make sure that was done by the time they
Yeah.
entered school, because that can change decisions.
Yep.
It really can.
We will certainly, that's always one of our priorities to get that out as quick as possible. So
I see
I see Chief of Staff coming in.
Chief of Staff has Chief of Staff, I'd be glad to recognize you.
Thank you, sir. Just to echo Corey's comments, we'll put efforts to get not only the notice out to the students, but also to the schools on approval status, and do that as quickly as we possibly can. 'Cause we don't want to leave anybody in limbo as much as we can.
Okay. I've taken up my time. Wow, I start here with Mike. I see his hand was the first one I spotted.
Corey, what's the status of our directed studies program?
Well, directed studies is honestly kind of phasing out on some of those programs. What we're hoping to do is identify some of those special need areas very, very soon, and working with administration to try to get approval for something a little bit new, I would say.
So what's the funding amount in that right now?
We're probably going to work to request some through the ARPA funds. I don't have the exact amount right now, but it's, I think it will be hopefully significant to address some of those needs. We all know that there are certain high need areas. For instance, there's a teacher shortage across the state of Oklahoma. And that's just one example of what we're looking at, and hoping to create something that's going to address some of those high need areas.
Currently, what's the composition of our directed studies recipients? I know we have one dentist, one physician.
It's very, very low. Like you just mentioned, I think there's just a small handful, and we're just, those students are just, we're just trying to get that closed out for this period.
And for clarity, they all have service paybacks.
Yes.
Right?
That's correct.
Because Counselor Buzzard just brought up the need of engineers, and would that be something that directed studies might be a possibility to consider engineering students?
We will definitely look across the board and consider all options as far as those high need areas, try to identify them, especially the needs that those vacancies or those jobs that are high need to Cherokee Nation, whether it's the business side or the government side, and others in our Cherokee communities, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Chair.
I just want to be sure you're aware that Pryor has a new superintendent, Dr. Lisa Mueller. I hope you plan to let her know we're here to help her any way we can and make sure I don't think she's ever worked with a school that's had a close relationship with the tribal government. So let's make her feel welcome.
Yes, certainly, and I had a great relationship with Dr. Raleigh. I was sad to see him go, but I wish him well. We actually have had contact with Pryor Public School, and I have a visit scheduled there next week, I believe.
Very good. Counselor Deere, I suppose you next.
Well, with Diane talking about the services we talked about that last week, about the 2,000 scholarships and the payback, we probably need to start looking if we're going to do something different like master's programs, PhD programs, fast track, because it doesn't pay for them to fast track if we're only doing 2,000 semester because they're on 8-week courses. So we need to figure out maybe some kind of reorg to figure out paying that, especially with the engineering programs and master's programs. So, because you know the hourly credit rate, the higher education you get, the more it costs.
Yep.
So I don't know if we need to appropriate funds or what, because a lot of people can't go ahead and pay that up front and then get it back. So these are things. So what you got, Todd?
Yes.
If I may. So Corey and I have had quite a few conversations about those very things and the skill sets that we really need inside the Cherokee Nation, not only for the jobs that are being created inside the Cherokee Nation, but the small businesses that are out there that are taro vendors, as well as our businesses in Catoosa and around the world. And so we're doing some analysis to look at what areas do we need to invest in, and how do we need to revise our policies, and how can we leverage some of the ARPA funding that we're reviewing now. And so I hope to have some information back to this body in a very short period of time for you guys to understand what our landscape looks like, both on the educational environment, what the costs are, as well as on the job opportunity and how we're going to merge those things and leverage the resources that we can.
Could you do a tier program like for master's programs is a little bit higher than 2,000, PhD higher, and then obviously fast track is going to be different, so.
There's a couple of certificate-based programs too that we're looking at for high school students and other resources, so definitely one of the things that we're evaluating.
Yeah, I just think it'd be good with the budget coming up, you know?
Yep.
So that's all I got. Thanks, Corey. Back to you, Chair.
Thanks, Donna. Ms. Shaw.
Hi, Corey.
Hello.
Corey, when does school start back?
Most public schools start back around the first part of August. Sequoia High School starts back on August the 12th.
Are kids going to be required to have vaccines, or be vaccinated and wear masks?
At Sequoia schools, they will not be required to have the vaccine to attend school. However, we do have a new policy in place for the extracurricular activities and students to be required to be vaccinated. As far as masks, that may very well be an option as well. I've got a meeting scheduled with Dr. Gann in about a week to discuss some of the latest updates and CDC guidelines and recommendations. So haven't closed in on a final decision on that just yet, but we're definitely working towards it.
What about our educators there? Are they required to be vaccinated?
They're not required to be vaccinated. However, they are Cherokee Nation employees, so many of them did sign up for the vaccination program. And I'm not sure exactly what our rate is, but it's very, very high of the employees who are vaccinated at Sequoia.
Okay, very good. Court, you said if they wanted extracurricular activities, they may be required to get a vaccine. Is
That's
that
correct. That's correct.
Is that with all our sports or just particular ones?
That's just across the board, extracurricular activities. And the reason being is because those students, they travel quite frequently. They interact with students from other places and other communities. And so we just felt like it was best to protect our own students and our own staff to come up with this.
Very good. With the increase of the Delta variant and with the increase of the numbers going back up in Oklahoma, I really do hope the kids wear masks. I really do.
Yeah. Right now, if I were to make a decision, it would be that they would definitely wear a mask. But again, I want to get input from Dr. Gann. I don't pretend to be an expert in this area, so I really rely heavily upon Cherokee Nation Health Services and others.
I appreciate those answers. Thank you.
Yes, sir. In the past, I've had several calls from students who had taken college courses in high school. And, you know, you have X amount, I guess, X amount of hours that are paid for, X amount of years it's paid for. How does that work as far as how many years you can get paid you can get college paid for? What is that? What is our policy on that?
So in high school concurrent classes, they can get a scholarship as early as their junior year, and they can take those concurrent classes throughout their junior and senior year. And
I think my question is, how many years do we pay for
per
student?
So we would pay those 2 years of concurrent. We would also pay their 4 years of their bachelor's degree and so on. They could stay on the program for, gosh, I guess, let's see, 8 years, 10 years, something
Okay.
like that.
Well, you know, in the past, maybe that's changed, but some students were almost getting penalized for taking those early classes in high school because that was counting against them, and their last semester to graduate would not get paid for. That happened several times in my district.
Okay.
So I don't know.
If that's still an issue, I'll definitely take a look at that. As Chief of Staff said, we're looking at all of our internal policies and procedures, and if that is a problem area, I would certainly love to address it, because never would it be our intention to keep someone from getting funded during their last year just because they wanted to get a head start at the high school level.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I know that it came up a couple of times in my 4 years here.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you can look into that and see if maybe there could be something exception or done if somebody has been dutifully going to school, because I know we have a lot of kids who will go for 1 year and drop out, or 2 years and drop out, but then you got one who has just been, goes religiously and is going to graduate, and then they can't get their last semester paid for.
I understand that very well, and we do encourage our high school juniors and seniors to get an early start if they can. They get to count those credits towards also their high school transcripts, and typically they're weighted for their GPA averages, which helps them out as well when they're applying for other scholarships. So I'll definitely take a look at that, sir.
All right, thanks, sir.
I feel there may be a need to clarify something.
Well, and it may not be a clarification, but one of the things I just want to really reiterate is I hope all of us understand with COVID-19, it's really changed the way that employers look at work, employees look at work. And that our landscape has changed, and we're looking at trying to make accommodations to keep people employed and given the opportunities to succeed. And so we are going back and reevaluating most of our policies and seeing what areas we need to change. And I also want to make sure that any policy changes that we do parallel with the work that Diane Kelly's doing, and so that those two dovetail together. Now, we work together, but I want to make sure it's seamless. And so we'll be reevaluating those and looking at concurrent enrollment and then handoff for how many semesters and what type of programs we offer. So we'll be taking a look at all of those as quick as we can.
Thank you, Todd. Is there any other questions relating to the executive director's report? Seeing none,
Yes, hey, Mr. Bunch, I can ask, are you getting ready to do Sequoia High School?
Yes.
I'll just wait till you
Yeah.
do that.
well, with that in mind, we'll go ahead and let you segue.
Okay. Not a whole lot to report on Sequoia High School, other than, again, our start date is August the 12th. We're just gearing up and trying to hire all our vacancies and getting prepared for the next school year. We're very excited about it. Our enrollment currently stands around 335 students. So we do have a few more opportunities for students to apply and to be accepted at Sequoia schools. And really, we're just getting prepared for the next school year. As some of you educators know, it takes a long time to prepare for another school year. We do have a summer break, but it never really feels like there's a summer break in school systems.
Corey, are you filling the role of, the dual role again so far this year?
I am still filling that role as for now.
Okay. Is there a thought that will change?
We are working towards making that happen, sir.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions specific to Sequoia report?
Yes, Mr. Bunch, so 335, how many students did we have when we adjourned in May?
In May, it was actually less than that. What's going to make up the difference is we have a large incoming freshman class.
Good.
So in May, it was probably about 20 students less than that. What we would like to be, our average is usually around 360 or so. So we're just slightly off from where we want to be.
Yeah. So pre-pandemic, we were around 360.
And I think we're usually around 360-ish at Sequoia schools on an annual basis.
We're getting close to that then, so that's a good sign. Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Dobbins?
Corey, do you know how many football players are returning to Sequoia?
I'm not sure how many are returning, but the last I asked, because I remember you asking in a committee meeting before, I think the number was around 35. It was really a pretty high number.
That were going to school elsewhere and they're returning
Oh,
back?
not returning, no. So what we've had to reapply is really a low number. I think I asked just this morning, and it was around 7 students who have chose to come back at this point.
Do any of them have eligibility issues for returning back?
Yeah, they will all have to, they'll all have to apply to the Oklahoma Athletic Association to regain their eligibility. And we did go up to the headquarters in Oklahoma City and visited with those folks. And we're going to do all we can to help our students who want to return to regain their eligibility.
So you have to do that for basketball,
Yep.
probably most all the other sports
For
as
anything that
well.
they were involved in that's governed by that association, they'll have to apply for eligibility.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Speaker.
Yes, Wes?
Hey, Corey, talk about a good thing about sports. One of the sports that actually got to go this past year was the fishing team, and they won the state. That's awesome. First Indian school to go to the Nationals. I think at the end of the month, they're heading to Chickamauga, Lake Chickamauga. So got a cool lake that we're going to, first native team there. I think there's something kind of hopefully going there, so I'm wishing them luck. But moving forward, they've built quite a team there, kind of all on their own. You know, they have to raise the money. What have we looked at, or have we looked at doing anything to invest into that for the future? I know other schools Some are able to do way more than others, but being a Indian private institution, I know one of the schools down south, they actually bought a boat for the students to use, to have that equipment readily available if something were to happen, or if they make a national trip like this. Because I think this might be something we'll see continually from here on out. As I talk to the coaches, it sounds like there's more kids wanting to come to Sequoia to be part of the fishing program.
So we are, first of all, very proud of our two individuals that qualified for this tournament. If you haven't got a chance to check out the video yet, there's a pretty cool video if you check the Facebook page on Sequoia's website. What we will do first is look at their needs and try to project the cost of what they might need for this year, and maybe probably try to do a 3 to 5 year plan on their needs. I just talked to some of our staff up there this morning about the fishing team, because it's so new, they weren't included into like the gate revenues, and of course last year we had no revenues. So that's, we'll include them. We'll try to get their percentage calculated just right, and we'll try to look at any fundraising activities that are possible for them. And I really expect for that program to continue to be very strong and to grow. So just be patient with us. We'll do as much as we can for them.
Awesome. There's hopefully I'll get the coach to try to get some of there'll probably be some colleges up there that actually recruit. You've got Bethel University that actually, they incentivize their students very well to come fish. They have full ride scholarships and stuff. So might be something going with since you're an executive director of education as well, to maybe kind of include that, those schools whenever they bring those schools back for a future. So
I would love to make those connections, and I'll check into it.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yes, Counselor Smith?
This is the year that the OSSA reclassifies, is that right? On the enrollment? Or is it next year?
No, we're still holding pretty firm, I think, to where we were last year. So I don't expect many changes on that front.
Okay.
Anything else? I see none, so thank you, and looks like you got a lot of work to do in the next few weeks.
It never stops, but that's a good thing. Thank you.
All right, Verna is in the house. Very good to see you, Verna.
Good to see you all.
In the room.
Okay. Can you hear me pretty good with the mask, or should I take it off? You can hear me okay? It's just added security. Well, I have some exciting news this month, and it's good to be with you all in person, by the way. It feels like we've been let out of the cage. We're renewing our contract with Bellefonte, and it's an original site from 1978. We haven't been there in a while, so the public school is as excited as we are. We're in negotiations right now about every little minor thing. The superintendent and the principal are so excited and doing everything just right. And we are going in and equipping it. I hope if you ever get a chance and you're in that area this school year to stop by and see it and check on the children and the teachers there. The other thing we're excited about this month is the RIP, and that's not rest in peace. It's a retention incentive plan. And we, like everybody else, are looking for staff. We are 40-plus short on staff. That is a record high, trust me. And we are continuing to recruit staff and children. But the retention plan, I want to say a big thank you to HR staff that helped us with doing this program, putting it in place so fast. We have, if we have someone that is hired today and they finish their introductory period, then they will get an incentive pay at that time. And to initiate it, even the ones that have successfully finished their intro period 38 years ago got it. And then they'll get it every 5 years if they stay with us. And some of them were so excited about that. I wish it could be a higher amount, but I think it's the gesture and the value that we place on the staff. And then the next exciting, any questions about that, by the way? Okay, the Speaker Byrd, help me with this. If I mispronounce, I apologize. The Octi Room.
Osta, that's
Okay,
good.
thank you. The Octi Room is the waiting room for our children. If you get a chance to come to the village, it's a new structure. It's designed just for our babies. When they're sick, they go in there and wait on parents or family members to come and pick them up with the staff who are all in full gear, full PPE gear. And it has all the comforts to make them, to soothe them while they're feeling bad. It has a fish tank, soothing music, a gliding rocker, and the decor in there is just at their age appropriateness. So we're really proud of that. And I know a couple of times we've already needed it, but now it's completely finished. Will be available to the children when they feel bad. The teacher will go in there with them. And I am sad to report, Chad Cochran is leaving us this month. In fact, next week. You know, you wish them well, but Chad is one that I can honestly say I really hate to see him go. He came as a young man, and he's going to teach at Oaks. So Oaks School is really going to have an asset on their faculty. He's going to teach computers and do the yearbook and so on. He's got quite the skills. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Are there questions or comments for Verna today? Yes, Councilor Byrd.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Verna, I think the Cherokee Nation's really fortunate that there's not a term limit or a time limit on our Head Start directors.
I am too.
I mean, you have a good staff, and I know the people in the community. I was there not too long ago in Bellefonte. They had one of the first Head Start programs, and one of my sisters was one of the first teachers there.
Oh, that's
So,
good to know.
Yes, and to have, I want to commend the support of Councilor Legg and Councilor E.O. Smith for all their support in that county. I think there are good things to come in that little community there, so
We're
I just want to say
excited.
thank you very much.
We're very
Thank you, Mr.
excited.
Chair.
I'll give you a report next month on how it's going.
Councilor Shaw.
Hi, Verna.
Hi.
Verna, I have a question. Do we ever do standardized testing on our children?
Not standardized testing, they're more assessments or screenings, and basically it just talks about or measures their developmental gains because we're just talking about months. So we do have instruments that assess that. But as far as testing tests, no, like pass or fail. It just gives our teachers a measuring stick on how they need to work with each individual child, or it tells us where we need to train our staff, maybe some improvement areas, whether it might be in cognitive or physical or, emotional.
So academically speaking, we never really know how our immersion students perhaps would do against another school that perhaps didn't teach Cherokee. Is that right?
No, we incorporate the language in our program throughout.
I realize that. I was just wondering, because I would think standardized testing would show where we are academically with other schools.
Yeah.
She's not in charge of the,
Oh, excuse me. Wrong start. You're a Head Start. You're right.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, Verna.
That's all, don't worry about it. We get a lot of questions every day. I get calls for the Child Development Center, and they confuse us all the time, but we're really, really different in so many ways, but the same at the same time.
At the same time.
So you're fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there others? Verna, we're just grateful for the work you do. Thank you
Well,
again.
thank
It's good
you.
to see you in person.
Likewise.
So we have no old business pending or new business pending. Are there any announcements beyond the fact that our next meeting is scheduled for August 9th tentatively? All right. I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Second. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.